All right, let's see if we can get the first recording off the ground. This could be the start of a new YouTube channel. A number of people I know have been asking me to create this channel, mainly because the content out there that concerns ceremonial magic is being conducted by people who don't really have initiation into the depths of the mysteries so much. I find it odd that so many initiates are so quiet. And so let's see if something's going to, stop me from coming forward. Maybe the computer's going to crash or something like that to prevent the content from getting out there. My name is Liam Thomas Christopher, and yes, I am that author of the Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation book. Quite a mouthful. That is there we go. We have some graphics here. Yes, that is the book. I did write it, apparently. Uh, uh, in 2006, I think was the release date. And in this book, a lot of people have, contacted me via Twitter because that's usually where I maintain some semblance of public appearance, um, and have asked me, various questions about the book. So I thought I would, uh, create a YouTube channel clarifying some things about magic. And one of the main things in this Kabbalah magic book is that I say it several times, and that is that magic is not what it appears to be. And of course, I'd never really explain that because it's really up to the student to find out what I mean by that. But I'm going to explain it today. What the heck, right? So yeah, magic is not what it seems. Um, and I think what I mean by that is uh, it's not like you develop a proficiency with magic and then suddenly you're able to do a ritual for this or that result to happen. And then, you have the ability to cast spells and then things will materialize, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, of course that's possible, but the ultimate aim of high magic, especially in the Golden Dawn tradition, was to transform the psyche into uh, something that manifests reality just spontaneously. So, in other words, things begin to happen around you just naturally without you having to force them to come into existence. You start living a life that's filled with more synchronicities and things like that, I guess. Um, but the things that you are interested in begin to materialize around you and get handed to you. Uh, Now, the way that happens um, is not the way that one might think. Uh, Essentially, what you're doing in this Golden Dawn curriculum is building a framework around yourself, which restructures the psyche. So you might want to think of the framework or the environment around you as just your sort of mandala in which you live. And uh, in the Golden Dawn, they called that the sphere of sensation, and that is the space that uh, you appear to occupy. It's your imagination space. So what you're doing with this work is you're restructuring that imaginary space around yourself, and you're doing it by plugging in coordinates and using a tree of life diagram, and you are uh, basically using words of power, using colors, using symbols. And so you're surrounding yourself with, like, the astrological version of the universe, uh, the magic circle, the four quarters of the elements. Uh, so these things get sort of built into your psyche, into your aura, if you like that word. They get built in. And as your mind is restructured this way, it becomes a sort of lens through which um, the divine will begins to manifest through your reality around you. You begin to live magically. And it's not that you know, make up your mind one day, I want a new car, and then I'm going to do a car ritual, or something like that. Um, these things are possible, but of course, this is not really the aim of Golden Dawn magic. Um, so ultimately, what you're doing is you're restructuring the psyche, remapping it so that it becomes more purified. It's so it stops regurgitating its karma, vomiting its karma all over your reality, sort of thing. We can talk about this later, maybe in another video, as far as how karma fits into that kind of stuff. Another thing to fuss about is progress possible without a teacher? And I would have to say emphatically, yes, um, progress is possible without a teacher. But for the majority of people that I've seen and worked with, um, it tends not to be. And the reason for that is, and I say this many times to people I talk to, that what we think we want for ourselves is not necessarily what we truly want for ourselves. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but apparently, so as you get into your own self-development in a course like Kabbalah Magic and the Great Work of Self-Transformation, if you're doing the coursework, there's a tendency for you to sabotage it. Yeah. Uh, so if you're working with a teacher who has, some legitimate credentials, uh, supposedly that teacher can keep that from happening or help you keep that from happening. Okay. Now, that's the main part of it. And so I will tell students often that as they're going along, they will complain that, why do I have to do everything the way I'm told? Why can't I do it the way I want to do it? And I basically say, well, we have to assume that you don't really know what's good for you right now. You might know, you might have some knowledge, but to assume that there's something uh, that you are as dysfunctional as the rest of the human race who is also unenlightened, and we have to so in other words, you cannot proceed under your own guidance right now. We have to assume that, okay, unless you have a teacher, and then the teacher can help you sculpt your own curriculum, okay. All right, one of the really cool and important things about a teacher, I meant to throw in something there about right view. Okay, so right view. A teacher helps you establish a right view of reality, a correct view of reality. Okay, but that doesn't mean that any particular view you have of reality is correct. In fact, any view you happen to have of reality is not correct because the mind really cannot accurately, perfectly con- convey what reality is like. Reality is always shifting, morphing, and the absolute nature of reality is always hidden behind what the mind can see or what the mind can conceive of. Okay. However, there are ways of looking at reality which involve Kabbalah and non-duality and things like that, um, that are conducive to you discovering the true nature of reality. And so there are various philosophies and frameworks of mind, and of course the system, these coordinates that you build into your aura, like the north, south, east, west, earth, air, fire, water stuff that you create, the spheroth of the tree of life, those kinds of things that you build into your aura. These things can help you establish a right view, which will get you sort of going in the right direction, so that you can actually eventually touch down and really come come to like face to face with what reality actually is, which really cannot be conveyed through words or even images for that matter. Okay. But there is a framework of the mind. There are various systems of thinking that can bring you in the right, that can point you in the right direction. And a teacher can help you establish one of those right views. There isn't one particular right view of reality, but can you adopt a philosophical system and a practice that are taking you in the wrong direction? Yes, you can. And so a teacher can help you not do that. Okay. Without a teacher, it is possible to go through a book like Kabbalah, Magic, and the Great Work of Self-Transformation, um, and to make progress. It really is. And hopefully, if you can do it without sabotaging your own progress and starting to do it the way you think is good for you, then you'll make it through. And then you can touch down and see the true nature of reality, and then begin to proceed as an adept, somebody who basically is capable of manifesting reality just uh, naturally, without having to do a ritual for this or that. All right. Now, psychology. Psychology, yes, is very important. I've read, various books about alchemy where they would try to insist that the psychological interpretation of alchemy is incorrect, and that there are actual physical things you can do in the laboratory that produce the effects that are being described. Okay. Hmm. Um, that's all very interesting, but the psychological basis of magic, I find that to be pretty foundational, especially for students who are just beginning. And but you have to remember, when I say the psyche in psychology, when I say the psyche, really we're talking about the imagination. Okay, and so the psyche is the only thing that you can ever truly see. You're always sort of confronted with this mirror reflection of reality. You can't see reality itself. You're always confronted with the way that the psyche presents reality to you. Okay, so if that's the case, then knowledge of psychology is fundamental to magic. Okay, and but I really would like to rescue psychology from the brain scientists, and bring it back to a proper study of the psyche, a study of the soul, which, to put that more easily, would be study of the imagination. Okay, and how the imagination functions. Pretty interesting stuff there. All right. And finally, initiation. What is initiation? Um, the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of the people who are putting content out there do not seem to be initiates, and I guess that might seem a bit snobbish of somebody to like me to say that. Uh, it's like this. Oh, this person's not an initiate. Um, if you if you have initiation into the higher levels of the tree of life, you can instantly, well, very quickly tell whether somebody who's doing a presentation also has that same level of initiation. Yeah, I know it sounds like an evil club and people excluding each other, but there are certain realizations that permanently transform you. There are things in life that once you see them, you cannot unsee them. And people who have been through these initiations are never the same again. And there are ways that they begin to act that where you can recognize them. No secret handshakes, nothing like that. You can pretty much recognize whether these people have had these experiences or not. Okay, but let's define initiation very simply. Let's take it at face value. Initiation is a beginning of something new. And one of the easiest ways to look at it is if you have a teacher who is taking you through a process, and the process that the teacher brings into you begins to become its own reward. And so you are now developing a new set of behaviors and a new way of looking at things that is now producing its own results, uh, to the point where you can't stop, because it's like, I like what's happening here. I'm going to continue. In fact, you really don't have a choice, because once things start to flow in a way where happiness becomes the norm, you can't stop. Why would you stop? So this is initiation, okay? And you might see it as like the easiest way to look at it is when you run into somebody new, you can see them as a person. Fine, of course, you want to respect them as a person, even though something like a person doesn't actually exist, by the way. But that's fine. We respect them as a person, but we can also see them as a collection of habits and habitual perceptions, habitual behaviors, things like that. And these habits that they have going on within them, you can see them as little wheels turning around inside their bodies. Okay, chakras if you want, whatever. So you begin to view them this way, and um, so when they are talking to you, when they're interacting with you, when they're telling you stories about their supposed lives, you you can notice when they're which habits they have that are churning out bad results for them. Okay, and so you can see the wheels turning that are churning out these bad results. Okay, an initiate can't anyway. Okay, so um, then you can point out to this person. It's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You have this thing going on where you're churning out this automatic result every time. Okay, so then you get them to look at this wheel that's churning out these results for them, and they begin to notice it. So they objectify it, and they can look at it and tweak it and reinstall it, and then it churns out better results for them. Okay, this is what initiation really is. Hmm. Okay, so um, so there are many different fundamental habits that we adopt that are churning out bad results for us, undesirable results, right? In Buddhism, they would call these things unskillful, unskillful strategy for living. Yeah, and then of course you can basically tweak these strategies, change them so that they produce the results you want. Okay, or dissolve them entirely. Hmm. That might be possible. Sometimes it is possible, sometimes it's not, but we'll have to talk about that at some other time. All right, so I hope that's a good little, I don't know, introduction. So there'll be more videos to come, and we'll start going into some of these difficult topics. I don't know if I'm going to be looking at the comments in these videos. One of the reason that initiates kind of stay hidden is because they don't want to be part of the drama of people claiming to be, part of the one true tradition and all this nonsense. So uh, maybe I'll look at the comments, and if it becomes not too drama laden, then I can respond to some of them and maybe even produce some videos that are in response to them.